Howdy YouTube family, it's Bolt CRNA coming to you again with another day's topic. Today I wanted to have a kind of a callback to when I originally began my channel a couple years ago and I was a travel nurse. So today we're going to talk about the 5 best paying places for a travel nurse. So let's get into it. I'm not really sure what got me in the mindset of thinking back about travel nursing. I get questions about it still sometimes, and I have some of you guys who are subscribed to me who look back at my travel nurse videos, and so that kind of jogged my memory about it a little bit. But I think also another element of it is CRNA school's been in full steam for 9 months now or so, and I'm hitting that point where I'm getting a little stir crazy. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't take my position to swap it with anyone else's. I'm very glad to be where I'm at, but you get a little stir crazy in CRNA school because you study all the time, you don't work anymore, you don't get to really travel, you don't get to do too much fun extra stuff, you don't make any money. So it's just a different life. And so I was thinking back on my travel nurse days, and I was thinking fondly on them, and I was thinking it would be so awesome if I could go travel and be out there and go and explore the world like a lot of my fellow ICU travel nurses that are still getting to do. So anyway, I still get the question about what's a good place that pays for travel nurses, like where people should go. So I figured that might be a good topic to do, kind of give you some insider information on what I learned as a travel nurse when I was out there, and what some statistics are and numbers are for pay currently now that are still being offered. The main company that I used when I went travel nursing was Medical Solutions, and I also used Faststaff. I used another company too, but I wasn't very impressed with them and their pay wasn't that good, so I'm not going to list them here. But Faststaff and Medical Solutions, both good companies. The highest paying is Faststaff, if you're going to be straightly honest about the straight pay and things like that you're getting. There are other benefits and perks with other companies, but Faststaff, from what I've found, they just dollar for your working hour, they're going to pay the most. So I went to their website, faststaff.com, and you can go there too and look these numbers up. And right now they have an OR RN position in California for $36.40 a week. Now that is great money for an RN. Of course, that's not talking about taxes. They're going to have to tax that. But of course, there's tax breaks that you get as a travel nurse, so they may not take as much of that as you would normally have taken from a normal paycheck as a staff nurse. But anyway, you will have to have part of that taken away for taxes. But that's still great pay. That's per week. They don't mention it being 48 hours, but I can almost guarantee you that's Faststaff. A lot of their positions are 48 hours per week. That's why they pay so high, because you have guaranteed overtime per week. Some people hate that idea, some people like it. I liked it, not to do every week for years, but it's great to take a contract with them and work 48 hours a week for 3 months or something like that and earn up a lot of extra income, and then maybe take another contract that's only 36 hours a week for a couple months and kind of take a break. So it's a good way to build up income, but you don't have to do it every single contract. Another position by Faststaff is their PICU RN job. Now this is in Alaska. Alaska is known as a state that pays pretty well. Now in the summertime, they don't pay very well because a lot of people want to go to Alaska in the summertime because it's beautiful there. It's like if you're a hunter or an outdoorsman or anything like that. I have friends that did travel nursing in Alaska, and it's just, that's like your nirvana out there if you like that kind of stuff, hiking, hunting bears, whatever it may be, fishing. Another position is a PICU RN in New York. Now that is $3,328 a week, and that's pretty standard. New York, summer, winter, fall, whenever, they always have high-paying positions. I worked about an hour north of New York City for one of my contracts, and it's just very, very expensive there. That's part of why they pay so well, as well as California. A lot of places in California are extremely expensive to live. So if you're gonna take a job in one of those two places, just understand that there's a reason why they're paying very high like that, and it's mostly because of the expensive cost of living there. So you're gonna use a chunk of that income to just kind of like buy food and gas, and you're gonna have to pay for rent or whatever there. If your travel company sets you up a living quarters for you, which some of them will do that, they're going to deduct that from that $3,000, whatever they're going to pay you in a week. They're going to cut a chunk of that out to pay for that for you. So you won't be getting your full paycheck if they have to set up housing for you. Another good paying position that a lot of people don't think about is Washington, D.C. I actually almost took a job in D.C. at George Washington's hospital in their ICU. I ended up going a different direction at the time, just not because of the hospital or anything like that, but just other things. I chose to go to California instead. But they have a position in their labor and delivery right now for an RN that's $3,120 a month. So that's really good. Now, another thing about DC, you don't think about DC being extremely expensive, but if you live, I mean, in most cities things are expensive, but if you live in the core of downtown DC, it is about as expensive as New York or any place in California. It is very, very high there. You will, when I was looking for places that I would live, when I was gonna take that position, I was finding people offering up positions on Craigslist for $2,000 a month to have like a twin bed on someone's floor in their living room, and they had like a curtain that they strung up across the living room. So during the evenings when you'd come home, you would sleep in your room, which is like a curtain off of part of their living room, and you paid like $2,000, I think they wanted for that. So, and that was normal in downtown DC. And so it's very expensive there. Don't think that you can go there and get by cheaply. So a big chunk of that $3,120 a week would probably go to paying for that living expenses. Another good one that I came across was Pennsylvania. Now Pennsylvania, it's offering $2,860 a week. Pennsylvania is not cheap either. It's not as expensive as a lot of these other places that I've listed though. So that's a really good balance there. If you're making almost $3,000 a week and you're not having to pay quite as much as some of these other cities that you would live in, you would actually get to retain a lot of your income from that. So that's a really good mix. That is what you really have to do as a travel nurse, is you have to find out the cost of living of what you're actually going to spend in a location that you're going to go to and how much you're getting paid weekly, and you have to make sure they balance out, because you could be making $1,000 more a week in a certain place, but if it costs you $1,200 more to live there than it would somewhere else, you're actually in the net negative on your income earning. So there's a lot of that kind of math you have to do with travel nursing, which I didn't mind because it equated to me earning money, so I like that kind of math. So outside of Faststaff's current listings they have right now, I have a couple anecdotal positions that I worked as a travel nurse, and you can take this at face value because it's anecdotal and it's subjective to my personal experience. But my highest paying position that I ever worked in was actually in Knoxville, Tennessee, and that position was $3,000 a week. And that was with Faststaff, and I did work 48 hours a week. But to live in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is a pretty cheap place to live, I actually rented out a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that an older couple who bought a new condo in Florida, they moved down there and they still had their house in Tennessee. So they rented it out to me, fully furnished and everything, utilities paid for $800 a month. And it was a pretty decent 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in a good part of town near the hospital. And I made $3,000 a week with working 48 hours a week in their neurosurgical ICU. Now I did have to work night shift, and it was a new neurosurgical ICU, so there wasn't all the groundwork laid for a very comfortable time to work there as an RN, because they just had a new neurosurgeon come in. They had a lot of turnover. Their manager just left, so they had just hired in like a new interim manager. So, any of you who are nurses that work in units, you understand those type of situations can be a little chaotic for the nurses. And in working night shift, it can be, you have to kind of get a little maverick sometimes, because there's no staffing and there's no management there to help you. And I actually had to step in 3 weeks after being there. I had to be the charge nurse some nights, and I didn't know where all the normal saline bags and stuff were at yet on the unit. So it was kind of chaotic, kind of hectic, and sometimes your fast staff positions are like that. But that's also why you're getting paid a lot of money, because they expect you to put up with more than what a lot of other nurses may put up with. And so I don't mind doing that for a couple months. Another good position that I worked in, and this was actually with Medical Solutions, this was at Stanford, and this is right south of San Francisco in the Bay Area. And this is a very expensive place to live, but I was able to find a house situation where they had like 5 roommates or 6 roommates there, and we all split up the cost of everything. and I got paid over $2,000 a week to work at Stanford. And now the best thing about this is $2,000 is not going to be anywhere near your highest travel nurse jobs, but the thing is I only work 36 hours a week. And when I worked those 36 hours, it was in a very nice, very cushy environment, tons of support, tons of extra staff. I did very little actual work. I worked in interventional radiology actually in that position. They needed an ICU nurse who could do interventional radiology because they wanted me to push conscious sedation on their patients who were having biopsies and simple things like that, and who they wanted an ICU nurse who was comfortable in monitoring and sedation and things like that. So I did that, and I actually only did 2 to 3 cases a day. So in a day that I should have been working maybe 12 hours, I actually only probably did 6 hours of work. And they had like catered in lunches a lot of times. It was very, very cushy, tons of extra benefits, very nice place to work. A little bit of inter-office politics, but that wasn't due to this hospital or whatever. That was just due to a couple certain employees. But anyway, it was a great place to work and a really great paying position. So you have to think about it like that too. How much are you getting paid and how happy are you being there? Do you mind working all day? Do you feel like when you get done with your shift at the end of the day that you're just drained and you hate your life and you don't ever want to go back there again? That can be some negative feelings you may have. Whereas in this position, I got paid pretty well to live in a place that I thought was cool. And I got to do very easy, what I call easy type of work. All right, guys. So that is my top places that I've seen for travel nurse pay. I've worked some other places and I've been paid in different states, Texas and Connecticut and Georgia. But anyway, I'd like to hear kind of what you guys have done. Travel nurses out there, where have you worked? Where are some good places that you recommend? And it is actually time for me to get back to studying. This is crunch time. We got a big test coming up, so I got to get back. But I will keep up with the videos and I will keep you guys informed. Bolt out.